I fought really hard to be an artist because I'm very lucky. I'm one of those people. I always knew what I wanted to do. I just wanted to make art. But the business thing came way later. I did not know how I was going to sustain myself as an artist because when I decided to do that, my parents were not supportive. My dad it was not what he wanted. So I had to leave the home and figure out a way to feed myself essentially.
Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to this episode of the Queer Vision Podcast. I'm coming live to you from my daybed in my living room, which is a wreck, post-editing, to tell you that the file that was going to be in this place has been corrupted. Today, we sat down with BrattyxBre, an amazing YouTuber, content creator, zine maker. She has her own print shop. She does a lot of things. She wears a lot of hats and does them very flawlessly. Yes, today was an amazing episode. We got a little personal about us on our end. We also talked to Brie about screen printing, about the business of creativity. So many good little things in this one. So please buckle up, get a snack, do whatever you need to do, girl, but keep watching. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today, Brie. I'm really excited to have you. Yeah, so normally we just start out if you want to share like your name, your pronouns, all that fun stuff, just a little bit about you for the viewer.
Okay, my name is Bree. Pronouns are she, her, and I'm most known for my handle BrattyxBre on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And I'm basically an artist and zine maker based in Long Beach, California. And I just share tutorials, how I make my work, and encourage other people to make art in a very DIY.
Love that. That's awesome. Well, I'm
Thank you.
Becca, and this is.
Coey, I thought you were going to say my name.
I was going to, and then I was like, well, you like saying your thing. You like doing the thing that you do. Anyway, we're the co-founders of Queerlina. So Coey's been talking about you a lot. I know that they follow you. So I'm
Yay.
excited to meet you.
That's so awesome. I just want to say I was excited to hear about the magazine and Carolina in general because when I lived in North Carolina, I don't think this existed. I think you guys are like pretty new, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. November of last year.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't know nearly as much about you as Coey does because obviously they follow you and I just found out about you. So can you tell us like how you got started, what your favorite things about what you do are, like
Oh, yeah,
anything you'd
for
like to
sure.
share?
I got my start doing content for my zines back in 2020 when we were in lockdown. I was just kind of bored, not feeling very inspired, and things were kind of scary in the world. So I just focused on making my art online. And then over time, I guess a movie came out called Moxie, which I still have not seen. I should really watch that movie, but that movie came out and I guess people were Googling how to make zines. And since I already had all of this work posted, my stuff started coming up. And that's how I kind of gained traction and kind of got a lot of attention on my work back then. So then my focus was on, okay, if people are trying to learn how to make zines because they watch this movie, maybe I could teach them since they're already here. So then it started turning into tutorials and how I make my own work. And then it really just expanded into this thing that I was not expecting. But my start for making zines in general was just from getting rejected a lot, trying to
Mm.
submit my work to literary magazines when I was in college. I was studying English creative writing, and every time I would submit, I would get rejected. So I was getting frustrated with that process. And that's how I started making zines, was just so I can self-publish myself. And the content thing came way later. It came as a surprise that people wanted to see my work, but also how they can make their own work in that way. So that's how all of that kind of started for me.
That's amazing. I feel like
Thank
we've
you.
had a lot of the no's too. So
So
I
I
think
think
that's also, I feel it.
It is so interesting because like I feel like where we sit is like in between a magazine and a zine almost, because I feel like although we print almost traditional like magazines, I feel like magazines are often used to like, advertise something to you, and ours is used to more like educate and like spread, like people's stories and stuff like that. Um
yeah.
so we draw a lot of inspiration from like the traditional kind of zine making and stuff.
I love a lot of those art magazines. I do collect a lot of them. It's like your guys' magazine kind of reminds me of Broken Pencil. I don't know if you've heard of that magazine in Canada, but they
I'm
do
gonna
a
have to
lot
No.
of
look it
similar
up.
things where they collect a lot of interviews and kind of like artist ads. So instead of being traditional
Mm.
ads where you're selling ad space, they do like an artist ad where you can learn a little bit about an artist, go follow them if you want to, and they publish all of that in their magazine. So the art magazines are really cool.
Wow. I wanna look them up because 'cause I'll get some inspiration from them. Thank you. Wait,
Yeah,
actually, can you spell that for me? Because 'Cause I'll forget. You said what? Broken pencil.
So, did you live in North Carolina like the majority of your like childhood and whatnot?
yeah, I was actually born and raised out in Rayford, North Carolina. Very
Mm.
small little city, but, my mom was stationed out there, she was in the military, so by the time I was born, they were already out there, and then I moved to California because she moved a lot for her work. We moved to California when I was, like, 15, so it was just pretty much my whole childhood, and then the rest of my teenage years, adulthood, I've lived in Long Beach, California, where I am now.
That has to be like a big adjustment, I could imagine.
It was a huge adjustment. Just in terms of what I saw culturally, I think it was a big culture shock. Because in my town, it was just a lot of it's just like a lot of religion, a lot of just I think the only races I saw were just white people and black people, and I'm mixed. I'm half black, half Polynesian, so I never saw Polynesian people for sure. And then when I moved to California and just seeing all sorts of types of people from all walks of life, and then seeing people be queer openly was huge because where I grew up, all of the religion and all of that stuff tied in to their beliefs of homophobia. I never saw openly gay people. And if I did, they were like a superhero. I'm like, wow, they're just being themselves openly in this small little town with a lot of prejudices. It was a big culture shock for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of weirdly similarly how I felt when I moved to the Raleigh area because I feel like at least now it feels a little bit like I don't know, there is more culture, there's more of queer culture. Definitely I still think there is space to grow there, but it's definitely better. Like I grew up in Northeast Tennessee, so in comparison, it's a lot better, but yeah, it is interesting to just think about like the levels of which I don't know, like conservatism lives in different places, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So is that where you're based? You guys are in Raleigh?
So we're like outside of Raleigh. So we're still in the smaller area. We're like out in Smithfield. So
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we're neighbors, so we live across the street from each other, which makes things a lot easier.
Well, that's cool. How do you guys like it out there?
for what it is, it's like, no, it's better than I feel like a lot of more rural areas. Like it
Okay.
doesn't feel as scary as the majority of them do.
However, in saying that, we also have to acknowledge that this is the birthplace of the KKK. So there are some things that have become normalized here that probably aren't great. But overall, I feel like we've been lucky that like we are able to have like queer representation here safely for the most part.
Well, that's nice. Is there a lot of diversity out there too?
We have more like I'd say we have Hispanic and we have white and we have a little bit of queer depending on where you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Johnston County as a whole is like getting better in some ends of it, but it definitely is like the closer you get to Raleigh, the more diversity there is.
Clayton Garner.
But I think people are starting to move more outwards now because it's getting so expensive.
But yeah, can't even imagine. It's bad here too.
Yeah, so
I was
I
gonna say
can't
you live in
imagine Long
California.
Beach. Yeah.
Horrible.
My goodness.
So I know I recently saw like a video. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw some where you were talking about like things you can sell to make money instead of your zines. So is that something that you feel like is really important for people who have like a publication or want to do zines and stuff like that to have like more little supplemental things that will help actually build the income up versus just like depending on the like writing and whatnot?
I feel like it depends on what your intentions are and what kind of resources you have. Because I know a lot of people that run their own publications, whether they're zines or magazines, they could have a lot of funding. So here I have a lot of peers that get funding from the city. So they get grants that help publish their magazines because they are kind of for the city of Long Beach. So that's really cool. So they don't really need to have supplemental income for that kind of project. But for myself as a full-time artist and for others that want to make money, but they're realizing that zines are pretty cheap to make and sell, I suggest them trying to diversify their inventory because that was just something that I learned. When I first started, I was only making zines, and I quickly learned that I wasn't going to be able to pay all my bills that way. I learned just to expand what I create because I didn't want to hike the prices of my zines up. I didn't want them to become
Mm.
this inaccessible thing for people. I wanted people to read my work while still paying myself fairly. But that's still, the margins were so slim to make a profit that way. So I started branching out. I learned how to screen print. I learned how to make stickers. I learned how to make jewelry, and things like that really helped me become more secure within my business so I could have time to make zines. So that video was a lot of advice from my perspective. If you want to find time to make zines, but you're like, I have to work, I have to pay bills, I understand that. So I was like, oh, here's some advice of stuff that helped me to create space for myself to be able to make art on my own terms while still making money. And the money had to come from somewhere. And I feel like a lot of the other things that I make, like shirts, a lot of people love shirts, stickers, and maybe even branching out and doing commissions for people, like using your
Mm.
skills that you know about zines or magazines to be able to help people that don't have that knowledge and don't have the time or patience for it. You could get paid for stuff like that. So I really wanted to help people that are trying to be entrepreneurs or make a small business and maybe look at me and think that I'm only making zines. I wanted to be very transparent and help those people. Like, the zines are not where the money is. That's really just a labor of love. And in order to do that, I had to do all these other things. So I hope that advice is helpful for people that are trying to do that and don't have access to grants or the resources that maybe other people do, you know?
Yeah, I think that's such an important narrative too, because I think we're fed like this idea of the starving artist so much. And I think there's so much like, I don't know, like beauty and health really in just being able to like, okay, I'm going to find these things that are going to help financially support me so that I can work on the things that I really love. And it doesn't contain like this huge amount of stress, like, oh, am I going to make the bills this month? Am I going to be able to eat? Am I going to be able to do this? Because I've definitely been on both sides of the spectrum. And for some people, it works. I'm definitely one of those people it doesn't work for. I have to have some sort of income. I have to have some sort of something.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's important that we're shown that more.
For sure. I think money is such a touchy topic for some people, especially artists with that narrative of like, oh, you're going to be starving, you're not going to make a lot of money. And I definitely started off that way. I did not have a lot of support for what I was doing, and I had to figure it out. And when I figured it out, and I was like, oh, there are ways to make money, it's just not pushed a lot, or maybe a lot of people are unaware of it. That's when I was like, I agree with you. I think it's really important to share that so people know that it's possible. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And it does require a lot of like research and seeing what works for a specific person, because what may work for me may not work for everybody. But if I can give
Right.
you a little jumping start or some point of entry to do further research, I think that's great because I agree. I think the money thing should be talked about a lot more.
That is very helpful, I think, 'cause we've just been talking about that as well with us. Like, we do have events, which I feel like our events are like the big money makers, and then we have like obviously the magazine where we have the subscription and the physical copies. But just been sitting like, okay, what are the things we can do? Because we can't do events every single month. Like that's killing us a little bit. Like
Exhausting.
next year, yeah, next year we're fixing that a little bit. And so we're just like, when we do events, it'll be great. But what are the little things we can have? And we've made some shirts. We did try our hand at screen printing, messed up a few things, but ultimately they look like our style, so it's fine. And then we've talked about like stickers and stuff like that as well. So this is very helpful to know that you have made this successful. Even though it's like different, it's very similar. So this is very helpful.
That's awesome.
Have you always been a super creative person and like business minded too? Or like have you developed that through the time?
Business minded definitely had to develop, but I've always been creative. I really fought hard to be creative because my family, they're just the total opposite. My dad was like a jock in high school, he was an athlete, and my mom as well. And so all they really knew were sports and just being athletic. So I was raised to be an athlete. so I could get a scholarship to go to college. And so I played tennis and softball my whole life until I was about 20 years old. And I was like, I think I want to drop out of school because of the whole sports thing. It's like you get a scholarship, but your whole focus is really not school. It's just that's
Mhm.
paying the way for you to take some classes, but you're really just being an athlete. And I didn't like that focus because there was no time for art. So I am
Wow.
very lucky that I learned from literally just seeking out resources in my city and making community with people near me, but also just doing a lot of research online, just trying to figure out how can I make money this way? I don't want to do anything else. Like I had a bunch of odd jobs and it just wasn't working for me, but I didn't want to be one of those people that's like, well, I'm just not going to have a job. Like I wanted to really figure out a way where I could like my job. Did not know being an artist. I just didn't know it was an option until I tried it.
Mm.
And then what really helped me, to be honest, was social media, like getting the traction from that movie coming out. When Moxie came out and people started finding my zines because they were trying to learn how to make a zine. Because in the movie, the main girl was making zines to like expose people in her school for being sexist or something. I still have to watch it, but they started looking up how to make their own. And when they found me, that really helped me put that fire under my butt to really figure out ways to make money from that. So content creation also is another form of income for me. And that helped me learn more too about, okay, if I want to run my own business, I have to be business minded with that. But also, how can I make my content creation another form of income for myself? So I definitely, that did not come natural to me. I had to learn that. But the artistry and the creativity was always there.
That's awesome. I feel like business you can learn. You can't learn to be creative. I feel like you can be in the environment to make it like a little bit easier, but I feel like just like having spontaneous thoughts doesn't come easy for a lot of people. And so like having that natural talent is very helpful to be able to grow into this style of work.
Yeah, I think that helped me a lot. Just having my own vision from such a young age and being able to have a jumping board from that once I started getting more eyes on my work, it really inspired me to be like, okay, maybe my dad was wrong. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I could figure out a way. And I'm very grateful that I stuck with it. And I do believe it's hard for a lot of people to be creative. And that's a huge reason why I like to make the type of videos that I do so I can
Mhm.
show people that maybe you don't feel that artistic, maybe you don't feel like you can draw, but you can do something with trash or you can, find a way to create a zine that doesn't require a
Mhm.
bunch of skill, but just mainly expression. I think that's really important for people to realize that maybe they don't have the same kind of vision maybe I do or the same skill some artists do, but they could still be creative in their own way.
Yeah, I believe the same thing, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I think we all are innately like creative in a way, but I think the society that we live in, makes us feel like, oh, we have to do these more routine things. But even at that same time, there are so many little creative nuances in that. I mean, most people make dinner, or eat some sort of dinner. So that in a way can be an art, the way in which
Sure.
you organize your pantry is kind of like an art.
Thanks for putting organizing in there. I'm a professional organizer.
Oh, really? Organization, it's an art.
But
That's
I
real.
think
I
it's
love
so
that.
important just to like, yeah, just acknowledge like, and also just saying it's like expression instead of creativity, I think can be really powerful too, because a lot of it is just expressing yourself and being free with what you're doing, if that makes sense.
Coey gets upset with me sometimes because I say that I'm not creative. Sometimes I get like in my head, right? And then this is the spiel that comes out. So it is a good reminder. And I think having that rephrasing will definitely help not just me, but also I'm sure a lot of people that are listening.
Oh, I love that. We accidentally ganged up on you.
Really, this is just therapy for us. So thank you to everyone who's been here.
So when we were talking, that did lead me to a question. So within like your content creation, is that something that you feel is more like related to your art? Do you feel like that was something that you had to learn a little bit more, or you were just like kind of inspired to do already?
Think it was a little bit of both. I think I was definitely inspired to find creative ways to present my work. But I also, before I went to school for English creative writing, that's a degree I have. Before that, I was studying digital media arts. So I knew a lot about how to make videos and I had just a little bit of knowledge about everything, like a little bit about how to film a frame and how to edit things. So that really does play a big part into it. So when I was inspired to start making videos of my work, I just called back on the things that I learned in school when I was in digital media arts and applied it to what I do now. I had no idea that would come in handy because I ended up not finishing that degree in digital media arts and changed my major. But once I kind of like called back on those things, I'm like, wow, that was all useful. Like for a long time, I thought that me studying that was for a waste of time. And then now I'm like, oh, I draw back on a lot of those things, even sports sometimes. The mindset of an athlete helps me with my content creation. So I'm just like, wow, it's all kind of connected. So the inspiration was there, but I think definitely what helped spark it and become like almost a voice for me, like a digital voice, I guess you could say, was drawing back on my education and also just all the lived experiences I have.
Wow, I really like that how you phrased that and how you said that like even the things that you didn't continue on with were very good inspirations because I think that sometimes we have a thought process in our minds that we can't quit something because we're giving up on it instead of we're taking it with us in a different way. And I feel like you just showed everybody that like yeah, you're not doing sports anymore and you're not doing the degree that you thought that you were going to do, but you can still utilize that even though you're not doing it anymore.
I love the way you kind of summarize that because for a long time I did not see it that way. But I think when we can change our perspective in that way and see what we're doing now and find appreciation for how far we've come, I could definitely appreciate the past. Like it took me a while to appreciate all the times, my dad forced me to be an athlete and all the times I was forced to study something else in school or, not having a lot of autonomy over what I was doing because I needed the security of living somewhere. Like a lot of times I did stuff because otherwise I didn't have a house to live in. My dad was like, you have to do this or you can't live here. So now that created a lot of angst in me and a lot of, I guess, anger. And then that kind of transmuted into inspiration. So I like how you said that because I'm like, man, when I look back on all that stuff, I summarize it nicely now, but man, I almost gave up a lot of times. So I really want people to find where they are now, find some kind of gratitude in where they are versus all the past, like where they came from, because it's very difficult to get past that.
Sorry, that was my dog barking in the background. But yeah, no, I really do like that because I mean, I've definitely had some path changes. I know Koe has as well. And I think it's hard sometimes when you've been doing something for so long to say, you know what, this isn't what I want to do anymore, or without feeling like you're losing a part of yourself, or like, the things that you didn't want to do when your parents force you to do things, being able to like rephrase that in your mind because it is very important to be able to reframe things. I think that's all of what my therapist and I talk about, but reframing things in your brain is really important, I think, to having a happier life.
Do you find that I'm going to ask a personal question, I guess, but do you find for yourself that comes easy for you, or would you say that's hard for you?
Absolutely not easy. So I studied engineering and I did it for a couple years and I had an entire life plan mapped out. Um, and still sometimes what it's been since 2020, so it's been 5 years since I quit. And still sometimes I grieve that. And I'm like, wow, I took so much of my time to do this and to study this. And now I just gave up. I didn't do it anymore. And I have those same thoughts that like you talked about where it's like, oh no, but I'm still using this. Like I'm still using it for my organizing job, or I'm still using the way that I map out my schedule to help with like Queer Line stuff. Like it's still very much a part of me. And I don't think it comes easy. There are some times that it does come easier, but I think I'm better at helping other people through those thoughts than I am myself. So no.
I can relate to that too. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, the advice is easy to give, but then when it comes to myself, sometimes I lose sight of that, and I'm like, I have really hard days. But that's interesting. That's wow,
Mhm.
engineering. That's big.
It's something.
Yeah, could not be me. I feel like I have kind of a similar situation because I was like, I still kind of am a content creator. I say that very loosely because like I have some following on like TikTok, some on Instagram, but I'm not super active. It's more like I do it when I feel the inspiration. But I definitely still had this whole plan where I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a content creator. I'm gonna be an influencer and I'm gonna do makeup and I'm gonna move to New York and do all these big things. And then I kind of started growing. And I was really isolated at the time because I was living in a really small town of 2,000 people and just became really miserable. And so I feel like it's easier for me because obviously like the makeup skills and the content creation skills all kind of tie into what we're doing now. And it's more like obvious how it ties in.
That's
But I definitely relate to some degree
Yeah.
with both of you on that.
Would you say that you stopped doing it because you lost interest or because of your environment? It was hard to find inspiration.
I think a little bit of both. I think it was like the environment and not having a community and kind of feeling like, which maybe you can relate, like having a platform. Like sometimes there is that weird cognitive dissonance where it's like, all these people know me, but like they don't know me, you know?
Yeah.
And I think at the time, I just wasn't ready to like experience that, if it makes sense. Or I just wasn't prepared for it. And so it really took a toll on my mental health at the time. But now that I've like moved and I'm in Raleigh, and I've built more of a community around myself and I have a lot of great people around me and creatives, it's something that I still am interested in and plan to like maybe take more seriously in the near future. We'll see. But yeah, I think also.
You're also the type of person that like picks things up, gets excited about them, and then like you want to get excited about the next thing. Like it like levels out and you're like, no. And so I think from hearing you talk about it for as long as we've known each other, I feel like you didn't lose the want to do it. You just like lost the drive because it wasn't as exciting once you got to this point. And I
Yeah.
think there's like, you wanted to keep making it more exciting.
Yeah. I think a part of it too was like, I thought I was going to have some end goal. And then I was like, oh, now what?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then,
that's super relatable doing content because it doesn't seem like there's any clear blueprint of what comes after once you reach the goal of like, oh, I want this many followers or I want
Mhm.
my content to do this kind of numbers. It's like there's no, I mean, maybe there are handbooks now. I was going to be like rhetorical, but there's like no like it's not like a traditional career, where it's like, okay, you
Exactly.
you become a lawyer and then you do this at this firm and then there's really no it's like you make your own end goal and that's a little overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah. And the handbook keeps changing too, because social media changes every day.
Good point. Yeah. So I could relate to that, what you're saying, Chloe, about being a content creator and then it stops being exciting because you reach a certain point. And I've definitely just abandoned my account sometimes, come back a few months later, and then it's like, okay, I'm a content creator again. So I just kind
Mhm.
of accepted the fact that I may not be a consistent creator sometimes, and maybe I'll drop off sometimes. But then when I come back to it, if I'm excited about it, it's like, okay, well, you guys got me for 5 months. I'll create content for 5 months and that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Like I just become really okay with those changes. Cause if I try to match something in my mind where it's unclear, then I just get depressed and I don't feel excitement for it at all. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to keep going. Just
I
keep doing it.
appreciate that. I think that's definitely the point that I'm finally starting to get to. Like, I even had this conversation with my mother this morning, and she was like, you need to get on there and you need to make a video and you need to email all these brands you've worked with and you need to get a brand deal. And I'm like, okay, I'm happy with the way I'm functioning with it right now. When I feel
Yeah.
inspired, I'm going to get on it and I'm going to do my thing. But I'm not going to keep putting like all this pressure on myself because that was a lot of it for a long
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And it can really ruin it for a lot of people.
Yeah. Where it stops becoming fun and it feels like work, like a chore.
Yeah. Yeah. There'll always be parts, that feel like a job or don't feel like the most glamorous. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that balance is important.
That's where we balance each other out because
Mhm.
I'm the exact opposite. I need to have like a schedule or else I just don't do it. And not in the sense of like I need to do it every day, but like my goal is to post on Mondays every week, right? And then it's like, okay, if I skip one, it's okay, but my goal is really to come back. And if I like get too far off of that, I just lose all inspiration. Whereas I think like having a schedule stresses Coe out. And so like we definitely balance each other out where like Coe's like, it's okay if we miss today, we'll post it tomorrow. Like if we don't email this person today, it's okay. We can email them tomorrow, the next day or whatever. And then I kind of balance out and I'm like, okay, but there are some things we need to do consistently or else it's not going to work. Like posting the podcast or like getting the magazine out every month, things like that. So it's like we definitely have those strengths and balance each other out very well, I think.
It's important.
How do you stay balanced in that then? Because like you're doing it all yourself.
Yeah, when you're talking about that, I'm like, man, I'm like 3 people in my head. I had to learn I had to and don't get me wrong, it does burn me out sometimes. I don't have the best system. I'm still learning, but I think what really pushed me to have a schedule, because I'm a lot more like Coed, where I have to feel inspired to create the thing, share the thing, show my process. But I learned when it became a business, I guess you could say, where people were now paying me to, be in my Patreon or, like buy my zines or, see my stuff. I had to create a schedule because now it was like,
Mhm.
okay, this feels a little bit more outside of me and people are waiting for something. So that forced me to become a little bit more like you, Becca, where I had to create a schedule of blocking out days like Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I do stuff for my shop. Tuesdays, Thursdays,
Mhm.
I create content. Weekends, edit the content. That was very hard for me because I feel like I'm more of a like chaotic person where I need the inspiration. Like I absolutely need it. But then creating the schedule, I drew back on like all the days I was an athlete. And there are days where
Mm.
you don't want to go to practice. There's days where you don't want to eat right, where you don't want to train, but you had to do it. So I kind of called back on that where I'm like, okay, I have to treat this like a job. But the way to keep it fun is to honor my inspiration. So when it strikes, it's like, okay, indulge in that. Spend the whole day making the zine, spend the whole day like filming what you want to film, but tomorrow now you have to get to work. You have to plan when you're going to schedule this thing. You're going to have to plan when you like make the process video, and that's what helps keep me balanced is like I treat myself by indulging in the inspo, but then after that I have to put some kind of work ethic behind it. It's not the best system, like I said, it does stress me out sometimes, but that's what's helped me, I think, the past few years help build an audience for myself and also be consistent with my business because people are waiting. Like people order things and give me money. I have to do it. So then I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I got to wake up at a certain time and really just treat this like it's a career because that's what I want it to be.
It's kind of like that loose consistency in a way. Like you're still consistent, but it's not so rigid that you're not able to be fluid in it. And I
Yeah, for
think that can be really helpful for people who are more like creative minded.
hmm Yeah, because it's really
Yeah.
hard to make a schedule like, okay, at this time you're going to do this for a certain type of person. And I feel like I fall under that category where I was like, okay, at least have some kind of structure, like at least a little bit.
That is also kind of important because I feel like think like I have too rigid of a schedule sometimes to the point where like whenever I do have a thought of like, oh, this would be really good in the thing that I'm writing, and I'm like, well, I can do that later. And then later comes and I'm like, what was that thing again? So like that's a good reminder. Sometimes I need to like just do the thing and be
Mm,
creative for a minute and then come back and then get the tasks done because it's okay if it's 3 hours later. Like that's fine.
yeah, especially if you already have the plan written out. I feel like the inspo can come and go and you have to act on it, but the schedule will be there. So it's like, okay, maybe I'll start work at 9 p.m., but I had the idea at 8 a.m. So maybe I should spend the whole day on the idea? I feel like also for Becca, being a little too rigid, do you ever find that that burns you out? Like you have an expectation and if you don't meet it, you get kind of like there's like a wrench in your day or something?
100%. Well, first off, I have OCD, which we found out recently, but it makes
Really?
sense. Like there are a lot of times where like if I can't do something perfect, I just don't do it. So like I was actually talking to Ellen, who's another member of our team, about like working out. Like I have to say, okay, my goal is to work out 3 times a week instead of my goal is to work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Because if I skip Monday, I have no inspiration or motivation to do Wednesday or Friday because I'm like, well, I already messed up. There's no point. And I think when it comes to like the burnout portion, I think it's still the perfectionist thing, but like for example, the magazine, if I don't get ahead, I will burn out because I feel stressed about getting it done on time because the on time has to be on time for me. It can't be the next day. It can't. Literally the dumbest reasons, right? But at the same time, somebody is paying for that. So even if it's only 10 people, it's 10 people I don't want to let down. And that can burn me out if I'm not ahead on stuff.
That makes sense.
While you were talking, while you were both talking, I did have one question that is I've asked in a few of our things. What's your zodiac? Do you know your big three by chance?
I yes, I'm a Scorpio sun. That means like the day I was born, right? Like my
Yeah, the month.
zodiac, the month I was born. Okay, so Scorpio sun, Virgo rising, and Pisces moon,
Okay.
and random Libra Venus. My sister's really into astrology, so she tells me that stuff.
Hmm.
But
But
that's my big
Okay.
three plus the Venus sign.
Okay. That checks out. I knew you had to have some earth sign in you somewhere. And I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo sun, Leo moon. Yeah, 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 we are. Very. Yep.
Yep. No.
Yeah. I'm an
What about you,
Aries
Cody? What's your
sun.
sign? Oh, Aries?
Yeah. I'm an Aries sun, Scorpio moon, Libra rising.
Ooh, that seems
Yeah.
interesting.
It is. I like to say that like I am okay at like looking composed. Like my Libra makes me look more balanced and then like it's a little chaotic underneath, but we make it work. So
That's interesting. I'm starting to understand your guys' dynamic too about how you balance
hmm
each other out. Hearing that, I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
yeah, it's almost like opposites
hmm
attract kind
Yeah.
of thing.
It kind of is. I feel like my Leo moon helps me a little bit with the energy and wanting to jump in that Koe has because it's both fire, pretty good. But then again, that's in my moon, so it doesn't really want to be there at all. And then I have the Gemini rising that's like the two parts of me that are like, you want to do exciting things, and then like, no, you want everything to be calm and perfect. And so like that's where like, yeah, we work.
So we've been really like well received in that front. And we were really well supported by a lot of the drag people. Like, I mean, we still are, but like at the beginning, I know everybody was like really excited and like ready to get involved. So it's
Yeah.
been really nice just to have that community really helping support us and like hold us up really. Like we definitely would not be where we are right now if it wasn't for, you know, all the people that have been volunteering to like interview or like people that have done shows at first when we were trying to raise money and we couldn't pay anybody. There's been a lot of really good support.
Yeah, and like whenever we first got started, like we got started right after the election, and like Coe was like, we should do a magazine. I was like, sounds like that's a lot because we had talked about events at
Economy.
first, and yeah, and then it turned out that I liked the magazine more than I liked doing the events, even though I've done events in the past, and Coe liked doing the events more. And so we kind of like took our like we didn't split it, like we still work with both somewhat, but it turned out like we could put our strengths into this and then use the connections that Coe had to find more connections and do networking that I've gotten used to with like my other business and like just tie everything together. And it kind of has become a whirlwind because I don't think either of us expected it to go as well as it did, if that makes sense.
Bro.
Like we had our launch party in January and like well our first event was in December. Like we literally planned it in 2 weeks for a Christmas event and a good chunk of people came. Like I think it was like 30 some people for an event we planned in like 2 weeks right before Christmas. Yeah, and then we had our launch party and so many people were willing to donate their time and like the venue was like this is great, let's donate our space and we just like were able to really like come up with a system and for the magazine it's really been testing the OCD here, I promise you. But at the same time, we've gotten to like really like transform everything as we've gone. Like we started out with an artist and then the artist was like, this is too much for me. So then we turned into, okay, well, we have 4 people who are writing. And then they were like, well, that's too much. So then it's like, well, I'm writing. That doesn't sound right. It's not just my voice. So we were like, let's bring more people in. Let's truly work with the community and like spread more voices. And that's where we're sitting right now. And like I think both of us really get a lot of energy from the interviews that we do. I think like we'll be sitting here sometimes like dead on our feet, like, oh my God, I really don't want to do this. And then we talk to people and we're like, I'm so motivated for the day. And so like it's not just like, I don't know, it's not just for the podcast, it's not just for the magazine, it's not just for the events. Like this really helps us, I think.
That it sounds like it
Yeah, I
really
feel
evolved
like
over time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it really has. And I think it was just something that we both were like, this doesn't exist. And we're just those people that are like, why? Yeah, like, why not do it? We both have that energy that's like, we can do whatever we kind of set our minds to. So I
Yeah.
think it was a little crazy, honestly, because we probably had one talk and we barely knew each other. And we were like, yeah, let's start a business together. That seems like a great idea. And thank the Lord it has worked out and we know how to communicate
Yeah.
very
We've
well.
had a few spats every once in a while, which has been like, we're very high emotional people.
Mhm,
So like they'll literally be like, "No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that." And then like we
mhm.
just like 2 minutes later, like, "I'm sorry. We'll fix it.
That's very
We'll
queer
work on it."
coded.
So
That's just me and all my
Yeah,
friends.
no, real.
it really is. I don't know. It's also kind of, I think, helped us both create more of our community in our friends too. Like, I don't know, it's an excuse to just sit down with like people who've already been our friends for a while and just like write or just exist near them and be like, This is queer joy. We're good.
And just like, I don't know, I think when I came to North Carolina, I was very thoroughly shocked at how much queer culture there was, at
Mhm.
least like in the Raleigh area. Um, and so for me, a lot of it was just like, I don't know why this isn't documented. I would really love to see like all over the country, like people popping up and doing, I mean, obviously it's not everybody's calling, but like I would love to see more documentation of like local queer communities and like the people who are like smaller sellers that are doing stuff and people that are like entertainers, because I think that world is just so behind like this veil still to the like mass public.
For
But
sure,
yeah,
I
I don't
agree
know.
with you. My town in Long Beach, there's a sub town within it, and that's where I live. And people call it the gay town because there's literally signs like gay town, and all the sidewalks are rainbow, and they have the trans flags everywhere, and it's very inclusive. That sometimes when I leave my area of Long Beach, I forget that other places are extremely homophobic and don't enjoy seeing queer representation. So I'm like, wow, there is such a safe space where I am. And that's where it sounds like where you are. And I agree that it should be documented more so people know, especially where they can go. Like if they want to come and see where their people are, it's like, oh, here's a spot on the map where you can go. Raleigh,
Yeah,
I'm surprised to hear all of this. I'm very surprised.
Yeah,
that does happen. I think it's grown a lot. I mean, I'm from Ohio, so it's not some spots of it are a little bit more conservative, but like it's always been like a little bit queer culture in some areas like Columbus and Cleveland and stuff like that. But like in my small town, I think there was like one kid that was like openly gay when I was growing up. And now I look back and I'm like, okay, most of the people that like are going to school now are very, very open about it. And like they're like younger siblings or like nieces and nephews of people I went to school with. I'm like, holy shit, okay, cool. Like this is great.
We won.
and I think it's just, yeah, like I think that's why, like, right after the election, it really inspired us to start because it was like, of all times, we need to be like documenting queer culture and letting people know, like, hey, we're still here. And like, especially in the South too, like, there are spaces where you can go and you can be yourself and you can be expressive. And
Mhm,
even if it does feel like sometimes when you're just walking down a suburban street that you're alone, like, there are people there that are just like you or that have been in that space too.
mhm.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us again. Like, this has been a delight, and
It
I'm
really has.
sure people are going to love this episode. And thank you for sharing all your little tidbits and everything.
Thank you both.
Yes. And did you want to plug your socials real quick, just so everybody does know where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. So if they want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, my username's the same. It's BrattyxBre _. And then it's the same on YouTube too. I'm BrattyxBre on YouTube as well. And then all my shops are breezetinyprintshop.com. And I think I also do wholesale. So you could find me under Breeze Tiny Print Shop on Fair. And that's it.
Oh, hey, friend. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me, but you would be wrong because I've been sitting here waiting for you to return because this file was also corrupted. Yay! Anyway, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Queer Vision podcast. I know me and Becca had a completely wonderful time chatting with BrattyxBre about their life, about our start, about just the business of being a creative in general and making that a successful endeavor. It is really hard. It is really hard and it's gate kept so much. So I'm glad that we could let y'all know some things on this episode, as all creatives really deserve to know. Like, there is a way to do this, and people are doing it, so you can do it too. Anyway, this has been a wonderful episode. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to follow Bree, you can find them at BrattyxBre on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that fun stuff. And you can also support a local artist and buy stuff from their shop at Bree's Tiny Print Shop. Both will be linked in the descriptions below. You can also find us at the Queer Vision Mag on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also find us at queerlina.org with everything on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, all the fun stuff. Thank you all so much for watching this once again, and we will see you in the next one.